어머머 세상에. 이렇게 예쁜 애기 어딨어? Like that you can't grab, not a fat nowhere. Abs tight, booty tight. Wait, now it's snot. Hello friends and family, this is Megan Moon, aka 저는 미국 사람입니다. Welcome to the baby house. Yeah, so there's always baby noises around here. I asked you guys on Instagram what questions you guys had for me regarding the pregnancy or the twins, how we're gonna raise the twins, life in Korea, yada yada yada. So I've compiled a list of some of those questions and we shall answer them for you today. And let's get started. The first question is from Ain Haukwant. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce most of these names. They ask, for the twins, will you send them to a normal Korean school or an international school? So actually, we don't know. It depends on how much an international school costs, to be honest, and it depends on what the benefits of that are. But I don't think we'll necessarily have to, because once the twins get a certain age, we were thinking maybe they're like 4 or something like that, 3 or 4, then we might go to America to live for a few years, just because Moon's never lived outside of the country, and he's always wanted to. And we want the kids when they're young to be exposed to a lot of different types of people, a lot of different types of things. We want to be able to take them on road trips in America. We want to get a house with a yard, at least for a few years, and then go back to Korea afterwards. SMC_EXO_ says, experience with biracial children in Korea. A lot of people ask me that question, what's your experience with biracial children? I'm like, girl, our kids are 2 months old. We don't even go outside yet. Like, how do we know? But I will say the one thing is when people know that we've had babies, the first thing they say in Korea is, oh my God, they must be so cute, because it's like that, you know, biracial babies are cute. So when we do go to the hospital, everyone's like, oh my God, these babies are so beautiful. Chang said, do you get anything from the government? Yes, actually I made a video about that before where I talked about all of the benefits that you get during pregnancy. It also included after the birth of the babies as well. So I'll link that video down below. Make sure you check that video out because Korea basically gives you a lot. Check out the video. Sheer Purple says, will your parents make the trip to Korea to see their grandchildren? Of course they will. My dad's actually coming next month. He's coming in July. Yay! And the rest of the family is gonna come in August. They're so excited to see them. I'm excited to see them too because of Corona. We couldn't go. Our plan was to go, but we couldn't go because of Corona. Next question, Robin Nilsen says, is it as common in Korean flag as in American flag to take your newborn out and about? Parentheses, public breastfeeding? Question mark. No, so in Korea, a lot of people, they abide by this like 100-day rule. Back in the day in Korea, when a baby was born, I'm talking about like way back in the day, when a baby was born, you would go outside your gate and you would hang up either some gochu, which is some Korean peppers, or some sut, which is like some Korean charcoal. For the gochu, that's for the boy. For the sut, that's for the girl. I don't know why I said it with an American accent, that's funny. For the gochu, for the sut. And then people would know that you had a baby and they typically would leave you alone for 100 days. And typically the mom and everyone would just be at home for 100 days. And a lot of Korean people now really still stick with that. I'm tired of sitting in the house, so I might just bring one of the babies on a walk one random evening when the weather is nice, because the weather has been beautiful and I'm getting really sick and tired of being cooped up in this house. Even YouTube filming happens in this house. When can I get out? So Mireille_0_0 says, breastfeeding versus formula in Korea. In Korea, I believe by the 3-month mark, only 37% of people are still breastfeeding, and compared to the rest of the world, where like 80% of people are still breastfeeding, the breastfeeding rate is very low in Korea. So the government is trying to like promote it everywhere. Even the local public health center, when you get pregnant, they send you lots of information on the pregnancy. And one of the things they sent was breastfeeding and why you should breastfeed and how it's so good for the baby. It's the best thing you can give to the baby. Even the hospital, they're like, make sure you breastfeed. Try and breastfeed. But then people are just like, no, girl. They'll try for like a few weeks and then be like, no. And it's actually a little bit difficult to get breastfeeding help here because a lot of people are just like, well, if it's too hard, then just don't do it because it's not that convenient. Per Kalal said, how are the kitties doing with the babies? Well, they were deathly terrified of the babies at first. Like literally they come in, they be looking at them like, what is that? They were like, what is that? But now that it's been a while, they'll like walk up to them and start smelling them, but still they won't be next to them. Wait, did she poop again? Did I answer the question? Oh, this is a good one. Okay, water, carbon dioxide. Oh wait, no, that's not. Water, oxygen, carbon dioxide. Sorry, forgot my science for a moment. But they said body image after having twins. To be honest, it's not that good. You guys know that I was like a competitive person. So I'm used to seeing my body look impeccable. Like you can't grab, not a fat nowhere. Abs tight, booty tight. Wait, now it's not. Naturally, I'm very uncomfortable in my skin. So hopefully as time goes by, it'll get a little bit better. But it's been 2 months. The twin belly's still not down. I'm still having lots of bleeding. So I actually had to go to the hospital 2 weeks ago because I hadn't had bleeding in like a week, and then suddenly like a whole bunch of bleeding came out and I was like dizzy and nauseous and I'm like, oh my God, I'm dying. So then we went to the hospital, and then my like iron and stuff obviously got really low because I lost all the blood. And they checked an ultrasound, and there's a lot of like blood clots and like stuff left up in there. So I'm still bleeding a lot every day. Cramps right now. My stomach is cramping really bad. It's been 2 months. I'm like, when am I gonna stop bleeding? Like, who wants to be bleeding every day for months? Nobody wants that. You don't want it. So I say all that to say, it ain't nice. 3 a.m. AFV asks, will there be plans for more kids or kid in the future? Eggs left over. It's so funny because it sounds like ova, and ova is a scientific word for eggs. I don't know if you were trying to make that joke. It'd be spelled OVA though, but over. Yeah, so we have one embryo left over, and we're thinking, oh, if we have more kids, then we'll wait until the twins are like 3 or 4, because then it'll be a little bit easier. But I can't imagine like having more kids like while they're still small. 3 or 4 I think is better, because at least you can talk to them a little bit, and then hopefully they'll be sleeping through the night at that time. That's a lot of my friends have said age 3 or 4 is the best age to like start having more kids, so I believe them. And I'm just gonna roll with that. Because after you've had twins at once, you're like, bro, one baby is a walk in the park. Like when somebody has one baby and I'm only having to take care of one baby, it's so much easier. I'm like, I can do this. But 2 babies at once, girl. Sweet brother, oh, doesn't say brother. Ruth says, are you doing okay? It was in my facial expression. Next one. Muna Jello says, will Reuben have to enlist? Ooh, this is a good question. Oh, he said no. I don't want to enlist. That's Reuben right there.
내가 알기로 국적이 2개면 자기가 선택할 수 있다고 해서 군대 가거나 안 가거나. 아마도.
근데 어떻게 생각하세요? 루빈이
무조건
가야
가야지.
되는지. 왜?
I'm sorry, 루빈.
왜 가야 돼? 자기가 갔으니까 자기 아들이 또 그렇게 힘들게 보냈으면 좋겠냐? Okay. And there you have it. Iro_O says, culturally, have you crashed with Mr. Moon on how you will raise a baby since your upbringing differ? Girl. Yeah. I think it's just natural that, you know, especially when it comes to child rearing, that things are different. But I'm the kind of person where I don't mind a different practice in child rearing as long as it's not harmful to the child, and as long as it has like no impact on it. Like for example, Korean babies wear these things called penne chogori, which looks like a little hanbok, and it's got bows you gotta tie up 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm like, why do that? But I like what they call ujubok, which is the onesies. But then the Korean people are like, oh, this is so irritating. I'm like, it's got one zipper, you zip up and down. So they're usually just at the top, but this is one of the worst ones that we had. You have to tie 1, 2, and then inside 3, 4. You have to make 4 ties, and you still have to, you know, kind of clip it at the bottom. But usually it doesn't have the bottom, it's just the top. But you have to make 4 ties. And I'm like, how is making 4 ties harder than just a zipper up? Stick the legs in, zipper down. But I don't really care about stuff like this because it's not something that's like harming the child. So my like kind of philosophy is, as long as the cultural difference is not something that's been proven to cause trauma or something like that, then I don't really care. They want to wear these penne joggery, then we got a drawer full of them. But when I'm choosing the baby's clothes, I don't choose them. But when they are, then they will choose them. And so stuff like that is fine. But one big thing, I guess, that was something that I had to put my foot down on and be like, scientifically, this is not like good, is a lot of people in Korea practice that like set feeding schedule thing. We used to do it years ago in America, but it was like the baby has to only eat every 3 hours at these time, and if the baby's hungry between then they just kind of let them like cry it out and stuff like that. And when you go online, like on Naver, on Korean and stuff, everybody's just talking about how they can get their kid on an eating schedule because they don't want to feed them late at night and stuff. kind of feels like it's more about the parents' convenience. So at first, like even the nanny and stuff, and then Moon were kind of like, oh, well, they shouldn't be eating like so often. It's going to become a habit, and then they're going to whatever. So they were like trying to let them just like cry until it was the time they determined that they should eat. And I was like, bruh, scientifically, we have learned years and years ago that that's not good for like baby's development. And everywhere else in the world, like all the big health organizations, WHO, and all the other ones that you can think of, if you search, they will say that you should feed your babies whenever they're hungry, as opposed to trying to impose some kind of schedule, because it's really important for the babies to be like bonded with their parents, and that happens when you respond to their needs and give them the things that they need. And when they have a secure attachment to the parents, they grow up to become good people, better personalities, smarter, etc., versus kind of the other way around. So that was like a big thing that we clashed, and I was like, y'all are not going to be sitting here letting these babies cry because they are hungry because you determined that they should not eat at that time. And even the hospitals will tell you, feed them every 3 hours. I'm like, what is this? So I had to look up a whole bunch of information like in Korea. It was finally I found there's like this doctor. He has a YouTube channel and he runs like a huge pediatric center in Korea, and he talks about how, you know, that's wrong. We shouldn't be feeding babies on the schedule. We need to feed on demand. Then they're like, oh, okay. And then we also found the KBS documentary too that talked about it, how it's important to like give the babies the things that they need and develop that secure attachment with them, and the consequences of not doing that. So that was the big one. The other ones we don't really care, right? Like, what are they wearing? What are their first foods gonna be? All those kind of things, not really that important. Even like discipline style is not so important, because Moon and I are kind of on similar pages. Like, we don't want our kids to be spoiled. So if we sit down and talk about something and we say, hey, I think this is the best way to keep the kid from being spoiled, but also raising them in a nurturing environment, teaching them values, etc., we can typically always come to an agreement on stuff like that. So Betty Boo says, how do you and Moon decide to split the work when it comes to the babies? I do work at home, YouTube at home. I breastfeed Luna. Reuben, because they were in the incubator, he never really took to the boob, so he gets bottle fed. But because I breastfeed her, I'm basically home most of the time doing that. And whenever I have to film videos, I'm just filming at home now. So I do most of the baby care during the week because Boone has to go into the office. Basically what happens is I take a baby and he takes a baby when he's here. I mean, I breastfeed Luna, so she sleeps with me and we sleep in a different room, because the babies, when they get up, they cry, they wake up the other baby, and then nobody gets sleep if both babies are in the same room. I sleep with Luna in a room, and then he sleeps with Reuben in another room, and that's basically how we do it. We each have a baby that we're responsible for. When that baby cries, we go and pick that baby up. And that's actually been working really well. At first, we were both just trying to take care of them both when they cried at once, and it was like really hard. Who that crying in there? Luna. We're actually pretty good at splitting work, and Moon knows since he's gone for work, when he comes home, he typically takes a lot of He takes a lot of responsibility for the babies when he gets home. I just need to hold the mic right here. Hello. Rima-chan 2 says, how involved are the grandparents in the care of the twins? Well, they're very involved, because taking care of 2 babies is not a job for one person. When I want to go to the gym, the nanny and my mom-in-law will come, and I go to the gym like 3 days a week and can get stuff done when it's done. When we want to go somewhere for the weekend, they come over here and watch the babies. So it's all good. Oh, this is an interesting question. Ethan MKHW said, why do a lot of women after having kids don't return to work? And this is a dude. Hey, we got a question from a dude. I didn't even know y'all was watching me. But that's a really good question. I didn't understand until now that I have babies. Especially if you breastfeed babies, you kind of build like a really strong like bond with the babies, and you don't really want to leave them. And whenever you're gone doing some other work, the only thing you can think about is like, well, what if I miss their first step? Or what if I miss their first smile? Or the first time they roll over, the first time they can sit up, you know, the first time they say something. I think moms, like, we get really, really bonded and connected with the kids. So we don't want to leave them. Like, we don't want to leave them in someone else's care. We want to be the people who like solely care for them. Look out in the wild. Babies that get milk from the moms are always stuck at the mom's side. I think it's because of like hormones and stuff, and it's the same for us. Like, we feel extremely attached like to our babies and want to be there for them. And so the thought of going and being at work just makes you feel like, I didn't want to go to the YouTube studio. I was like, we're just gonna film at home because the baby's crying, she needs my titty, I gotta give it to her. Last question. Saint Azaria said, do you get stopped when in public with the babies? Like in America, people want to see babies. I'm coming, Luna. So yes, they think that mixed babies especially are really cute when they see us together. They know, oh, it's a little like mixed baby. So everyone wants to come and look at them and be like, oh my God, they're so cute. They are. Oh my God, they're so cute. The babies are so pretty, so cute. Like that. So they typically want to see our babies. I've never really seen them doing that to other people, but when you're a foreigner, everyone's just so much more interested in you. But I've never seen them stop a Korean woman holding a baby. But anytime we have babies, especially old women are like, 어머머 세상에. 이렇게 예쁜 애기 어딨어? Like they just wanna. Anyway, Luna needs my titty. So I'm gonna go now. If you like this video, see more videos, please subscribe to my YouTube page down below. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and now on Snapchat. I can use that now more. Like me on Facebook. I will see ya.